We're going to start with the circle tool, making a flat circle. And I didn't... So yeah, I apologize. There are going to be pauses in the stream as I talk in home show because I have a tendency of answering every question I see, assuming that I know the answer or have some idea of the answer. So yeah, there are going to be pauses. So what I need to do now is we want to do a circle with the circle tool. Okay, so bring up the editor. I want to go to the crate and find one of the items that we want to use. We're going to do a plain ash tile. So I'm going to copy the crate, the item ID. I'm going to go to groups, and this is when I'm going to check to see if... Oh, I know what I have to do. So this is a little bit of a rough stream because I keep setting things up since I keep forgetting that I have to do stuff. I had my desktop all set up. It was really easy. Just pop in and start the stream. The laptop, not so much. And that's my cat. Hi, Midnight. He's perfectly able to go outside if he likes, but he'd much rather ask me for an escort to go outside. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear him. So edit global. Is it global? No, it's not global sources. Hi, Midnight. The layout editor, properties, entire window? No, inner window. Let's see if I go here. Does it actually show? No, it doesn't show the options. Shoot. Settings. Boo. I'm sorry. I had thought I'd set everything up, but... but apparently I didn't, and I'm having trouble remembering what the options were to... I think I had to do a monitor capture. I'm gonna try L layout editor. Okay, let's give this a try. Subregion, I think that's the subregion. Capture mouse cursor. Okay. Let's turn off, ooh. Properties. No, that's not it. Let's bring that back. Gosh darn it. Alright, so... No. You guys can't see what I'm doing. I'm actually doing stuff. I promise. I'm just... if I do it like this. Ooh. But if I do that, it still does not show the options. Ugh, okay. Okay. Properties. Select region. Darn it. Properties, select region. I want it to be all of this. Okay. Hi. He's pretending he hasn't been fed. That's a lie. He has been fed. That didn't really work either. Still no, Midnight, please don't step on that. Please don't stay off the computer. Stay off the computer. He's trying to say hi to everyone. I would really rather he not say hi to everyone. Okay, so hi, Midnight. Yes. Monitor 1, subregion is that thing. Hi, Midnight. Okay, we're gonna have to do this the dirty way, which is just to show everything, I think, because this is not working. I will have to play with this at some other point. Okay, we're going to create a new scene. We're going to call it scene. We're going to add a source. It's going to be an entire monitor capture. We're going to say monitor capture. I'm going to say capture mouse cursor. I'm going to say OK. And we're going to say, why is it not working is what we're going to say. No, stop, please. Ah, cat. Properties. My monitor is really not wanting to do 1920 by 1080. Okay, still not showing. This is, alright, well, kind of pointless trying to do the this stream for the circle tool if I can't show you the window that I need to show you. So I'm gonna take a like 10-minute pause to fix things so that it works, and then I will be back and we will do this for real, I promise. All that time getting everything set up, and then I completely screwed up on my end. I do apologize. So let me stop the stream and have a... On second thought, I'm gonna leave the stream running, but I'm gonna stop the recording because nobody cares about having this stuff recorded. So you're welcome to keep watching the stream if you like, but it's just going to be me fiddling with junk. So yeah, I mean it's not going to be that cool. It's just me trying to get things working. So, oops. Plugins. Screen switcher. Come on, I really want the screen switcher to work on its own. Configure. Scene should be that one. Oh, it was not running. Well, that's not useful. Alright. So does that at least do that now? Yes, it does. Okay, so one step down, that's working. So I no longer have to use the hotkeys. Next step, layout editor, properties, select region. I actually really would prefer this and this. Why is it not? Let's try this again. Select region. There we go. Enter. Okay. No, that still doesn't work. So, properties, let's not do a subregion. Let's say inner window. Okay. That's better. Still cannot see the options. What if I open this though? Nope. That didn't work. Properties. So 1224 by 657. Okay, so let's try creating add monitor capture layout editor. Let's try this again. Subregion 1224 by 6. I think it's at 657. Select region. Let's just do it like this. Oh, no, 657 was too small. Enter 670. Okay. Say okay. And it's not wanting to display. That's awesome. A little bit frustrating. Create object. So I'm going to have to create a window for every single thing, it looks like. Alright. So remove that. Yes, I want to add a source. Add a window capture. Window capture, this is circles. Okay. I want the entire window. Say okay. That is indeed the entire window. I think. Looks like it is. Okay. So what happens when I close that window? It remains up. So we're going to do that. We're going to say add a scene. Oops, cancel. We're going to say copy. We're going to call this circle editor. And we're going to say when that one is up, we want to see circles. Tools, create object, circle or spiral. There it is. We want it kind of in the middle because that's what we'll be focusing on. Hi, Midnight. I don't think we want to do the full window though, because that does not look very good. Huh, it doesn't show its frame. Interesting. Tools, properties, inner window, sub-region, select region. Let's do this again. Select region. It's much too small. Well, I guess that works. Okay. Enter. Okay. That's better. It doesn't have its frame because for some reason it's not showing the frames, but that'll work. So now we want to go to plugins, OBS scene switcher, configure. When we have the create object, circle and spiral, we want the circle editor. Add, say OK. Okay. I think that'll get things working now, right? Did that switch? Yes, that switched to EQ2. Close down everything. What was I thinking of? I wanted to create, add window capture, circles to this one. Object, circle, and spiral, inner window, blah blah blah, subregion, okay, and I want it shrunk down and stuck over here because I do want it to still be visible if we close things. Alright, so now we will say cancel that, go back to this, and apparently that's going to keep showing up if I do it that way. Darn it. Oh well. Good enough. Let's delete that. Alright. Okay, I think we're ready. Okay, starting things up again. Isn't perfect, but it'll do for now. Hitbox TV/Jazabelle for those interested. Doing the circle tool tutorial now. Okay, back to this. We're going to say start recording. Okay, so we are going to work on using the circle tool today. So in my moving crate, I currently have all of the items that I'm going to use for the various tutorials today. As you can see, I have an assortment of different items. So we're going to go to the layout editor. As you can see, I pulled up, I was moving my moving crate around earlier. So we're going to go to the crate tab. We've already saved, in fact, let's start from the beginning. Back in the game, going to Alright, so I'm answering some questions. I'm talking in home show right now. Sorry for the pause. Alright, so I opened the macro window and I have a page of macros dedicated mostly to decorating. This one is the with button, without button, and working. Those are the layout, save, and load options that I have. So we're going to click the with button to save a layout of this zone, which is the with button is save layout with. I'm going to go to the house editor. I'm going to go to File, Open with. No, you can't see because I was filtering it. So File, Open with, and it pulls up everything that's in this zone. So now we're going to look at the moving crate. This is the moving crate that we were looking at in the game. And to start off with, we're just going to use some plain ash tiles to create a circle. So we see here that we have plain ash tiles. We're going to copy the item ID. So double click to select it all and then Control C to copy, or you can right click to copy, which probably does not show up on the stream, I'm guessing. Yeah, you can't see the copy window, so just assume that I double clicked, right clicked, and copied. That's a little bit problematic, but I will deal with that later. So now we're going to go to Tools, which you can't see me opening the Tools option, but if you go into Tools and you scroll down, there is an option that says Create Objects, and if you hover over it, it pops up in a window that says Circle or Spiral or Tile Area. We're going to click Circle or Spiral, and that should pop open the Circle or Spiral window. And so here, it looks pretty daunting, doesn't it? There are a lot of boxes to worry about. So we're going to take this one step at a time. You have the option of saving or loading your settings. So if you have created, say, the perfect decagon and it looks awesome and you really, really want to use it in multiple homes or whatever, you can save that setup for the future. Remember that the circle and spiral tool can also be used for spiral staircases. So, I don't know, you have the perfect distance and spacing and angling of your spiral staircase, and you know you want to use it in several different spots in your house, so you can save that, what is it called? When you fill out all the stuff. Brain fart. You can save the settings. Anyway, so you can save the settings and then you can load it in the game later, and then you can just change the center point to have it build the staircase in a different spot. And my cat just grabbed my hand and dragged it to his face, so if I scream, it's probably because the cat did something unexpected, not because I'm being attacked by zombies or anything. Okay, so looking at this, we are going to pause for a second while I answer a question I just received in the game. So okay, answered the question. I may have to pause to explain a little more, but let's go back to, whoops, as I hit the wrong buttons. Let's go back to the circle and spiral window. So there are a whole bunch of things. We say, yes, we want to create a new group. because zombie cat. Zombie cat might be like Bane cat. I don't know. All I know is that he decided that my hand should not be on the keyboard. It should be petting him, and he was going to grab my hand and drag it over to his face. He is a 20-pound cat, so, and it's all muscle, so I don't argue. I do what he wants. He has me well trained. Okay, so sorry if I'm making you motion sick. I keep tabbing back to the game. Alright, here we are with the create circle and spiral window. As I was saying, we want to create a new group. Yes, because that makes it easier for us. It just loads the one group instead of having to load the entire layout of the house. Group name, new. Well, that's a nice group name, but that's not really what we're trying to do here. We are trying to do, well, let's do a decagon. And we might want to do more than one decagon, so we're going to call this decagon 1. So which 2D plane do we want to do it on? As you can see, there's the XY plane, which is the floor. There's the XZ plane, which is east-west, which means it would build on either the east wall or the west wall, depending on what you set your other options to. Or the YZ plane, north-south. So once again, it would set it to either the north wall or the south wall, depending on which settings. We're going to go with the floor right now because the floor is the easiest thing to do. So we have that option. Now we have to go back to the game because I forgot to check where I wanted my center point to be. So as you can see, there's a line here with center point X, Z, and Y. And it's kind of important that we have that. So let's say we want to build it right here. So I'm going to pull my window up briefly. Sorry people, I really don't mean to show off everything you're saying. I just need a /LOC, and it says right here my location is 48.68 -1.08 0.29. That sounds like a really great spot to do this. So let me drag it back down there so it's all hidden again. So that's hidden, and we're going to go back to my create object, circle or spiral. Probably should mute my chat programs, but like I said, laptop, not everything's set up, blah 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 blah, more excuses. Anyway, did I already say that yes, I will YouTube Bane Cat later? Yes, I will YouTube it later. Okay, so back to create object, circle or spiral. I think I said negative 48.68, negative 1.08, and 0.29. That was my location. Of course, you can set it to whatever you need it to be. Wherever the center of your circle is, that is the spot that the circle will build around. So, number of steps. A decagon, 10 sides, 10 steps. Makes sense, right? Total angle, a decagon is a full 360 degrees around. So we're going to set the total angle to 360. Start angle, depending on what you set your start angle to, it will start anywhere around the 360 or, you know, whatever number you set it to. So west is 0, and this is where I pause and pull up my actual picture tutorial. Yes, there is a picture tutorial on how to use this stuff. I just don't happen to have it specifically for the circle tool. It was actually so that I could create spiral staircases. Somebody asked for a spiral staircase tutorial. So if you're interested in that, it is http://bit.ly/le-bitesize. That is bit.ly/le bite size. All of it's lowercase. Do not do any uppercase or you won't get to it. If you are confused by that, you can go to homesandtomes.blogspot.com and click the link at the top that says How to Layout Edit. Scroll down and click How to Create Spiral Staircases. I will be doing a how to do the circle tool later on, but first I'm going to do this YouTube. So let's see, we said that west is 0. It is important to note that southwest is 45, south is 90, southeast is 135, east is 180, or of course the ever popular negative 180, northeast is 225 or negative 135, north is 270 or negative 90, and northwest is 315 or negative 45. Basically, you can just play around with numbers and figure things out. It doesn't really matter. It sounds way more complex than it is. I usually leave my start angle at 0 because you can rotate the entire thing later if it's not what you want. So it's just easier to leave it at 0 and figure out from there. My radius. Well, this is a tutorial, so let's experiment. Let's start with a radius of 5, just so you can see how big it is. Remember, all of these numbers are 1 unit in EQ2. And to show you exactly what 1 unit looks like, let's go to the moving crate, pull out a red tile, move item. We're going to scale it down. Oops, stop auto running, There we go. We're going to scale it down as far as it will go. Tiny, 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 tiny. See that tile right there? This distance from one tip to another tip is 1 unit. So imagine 5 of these laid out end to end, and that will be the distance from the center to the center of the object we are using. Not to the edge, to the center. That will make more sense when I actually build it and show it to you. So, radius is 5, z increase. Z is the up down. We want a flat circle, so we are not going to set a z increase at all. Radius increase. Radius is for spirals. As a spiral goes, the distance from the center for each item becomes a little bit larger. We don't want to do that. So, we're just going to leave that one as 0 as well. Item name, I think we said that was a plain ash tile. Item ID, we copied it, and now we Control V to paste it. You can, of course, write it down and type it out or whatever else you want to do, but it's just so much easier to double click to select and then Control C and then Control V when you're ready. So it has the Use UID from Crate box. Yes, we want that checked. I will repeat that again because that is a very, 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 very important step. Yes, we want that checked. That box right there is the only thing that keeps your layout editor from stealing items from elsewhere in your house. If you don't have that checked, if you have plain ash tiles out somewhere else in your house, the layout editor will steal them. Well, I can't say will steal them because sometimes it's good and it just takes it from the crate, but it has a very high chance to steal them because there is nothing telling it which tiles specifically to use. UID is unique identifying number, whatever it is. Every item has its own UID once it's been placed in a house. So we do want to use UIDs from the crate so that it doesn't pull from elsewhere in the house. Item start rotations are what the items start, how they start out facing before it starts building its thing. Because these are tiles and they're square, we're just going to leave all 3 at 0 because we don't want the tiles pitched at all, we don't want them rotated at all, and we don't want them rolled at all. Item scale, 1 is nice, but let's scale them all the way up to scale 3. So now that we've filled everything out, let's click Create, and it should bring us back to the layout editor. So now you see it's created a group called Decagon 1, and it's made up entirely of plain ash tiles, and you can see that it has set them up in various locations, and the note here says added by create. Now, one step that a lot of people don't do, and I strongly encourage you to start doing this, look at the UID column. Check it. Make sure there are no negative numbers. If you see a negative number in the UID column, that means that there were not enough items in the moving crate, and the layout editor has created a fake item so that it'll load. Please note that this is not an exploit. It will not create a new item in the game. What it will do is it will create a layout file that has more of an item in it than the house has. And so the game has to figure out which of those items to fill. So say you have only 10 items in the crate and you have 11 items in your file, the game is going to not place one of those 11 items. There are only going to be 10 in the house, so you're going to have a hole in whatever setup you do. So now that I know that there are no negative numbers here, we're going to say save group, save it. We're going to go into game, and I don't remember quite where I was standing, so let's say load working, and oh, hey, look, there's a decagon. A very shimmery decagon with overlaps in the corners. So we know that that's not quite what we wanted. I don't want overlapping corners like that. Actually, it's kind of pretty. We want our corners to overlap a little more, I'd say. And let me move this red tile so it's not like right in the middle like that. So, hey, it wasn't quite what we wanted. Let's go back to the layout editor. We're going to select everything in this group. We're going to tell the layout editor that it's now in the crate. We're going to save the group. I don't know if you actually need that step, but I always do it because it makes me more comfortable. And then, scary step here, we're going to delete the group. Now the layout editor thinks that your tiles right here that are in the game are in the crate. So it thinks they're there. It thinks that they're back where it was when we started. So we're going to create object under tools, circle or spiral. You can't see this part, I apologize. Bring up this window again. As you can see, it saved all of our information from last time. So our radius was too big because we want them to be closer together so they overlap a little more. So let's change 5 to 4. Say create. And that takes us back to the housing editor, which has once again created Decagon 1 with all of this information. We're going to save it, and because we did what we did by telling the layout editor that these items were back in the crate, it used the same exact items as the last time. So when we load it, there we go. That's kind of pretty. Still not quite what we want. Let's say, well, here's where we can use a little bit of math, okay? So we know that from the center of the circle to the center of one of these tiles is 4 units. From here to here is 4 units. We know that the distance from the edge of one tile to the center of one tile is exactly 1 time the scale of the tile. So in this case, it's 3 units. So we know that it's actually 1 unit from here to the edge of the tile. And we can actually prove that with this little item right here. Let's see. Let's rotate it around. And so if we line it up from there to there, look at that. It is 1/4 of a circle, like that. Kind of cool. So let's say we don't want a hole in the middle at all. So we have 2 options. We can either change the scale of our circle. Not our circle, I'm sorry. We can change the scale of all of the squares that make up this decagon. So we can change them to scale 4 so that it fills up the hole. Or we can bring them in closer, because tiles scale to 6, by the way. Most items only scale to 3, but tiles scale to 6 unless they're station cache bot tiles, in which case they scale to 12. But we want these tiles at scale 3 just because that's what we have it at. And so in this case, because we're learning the circle tool, instead of rescaling the tiles, I'm going to change the radius again. So once again, select everything, create it, save group, delete group, go to tools, create object, circle or spiral. Now we're going to say we want the scale to be, not 5, we want it to go 3. We want it to be 3 plain ash tiles, create, save group, go to game, open the macro window, hit the macro, and suddenly I am standing on something that looks like it is a solid object. I mean, aside from the shimmering. Shimmering is really kind of painful. So, that shimmering is what happens when two items overlap each other exactly and their textures fight for prominence. So, going to go back to the layout editor, select everything, create it, save group, delete group, go to tools, create object, circle or spiral. Now that we're here, we say, let's try rolling all of the tiles by 0.1. What happens if we do that? Create group, save it, go into the game, load it. Ooh. Well, that's kind of nice, but it's still a little shimmery. So we know that 0.1 is not enough, because you have to get really close before the shimmering stops a little bit. And, you know, it's kind of a plain design if we roll at 0.1. So what happens if we roll it in the opposite direction, to negative? And let's say, well, 0.1 wasn't enough. Let's try negative 0.5. So select everything, create them, save group, tools, create objects. Oops, I forgot a step. Hit cancel, go back to layout editor, click delete group. Now go to tools, create objects, circle or spiral, and we want to change this to negative 0.5. Say create, save group, load working. Look at that, guys. That is gorgeous. I have actually used things like this as an inlay for various homes. Depending on how many tiles you use and how close together they are, you can create some really interesting designs. So there's a nice wood inlay. As I wait for the stream to catch up, I'm actually watching the stream on another window so that I can, see when it catches up so that you guys can ask any questions or anything like that without me moving on too fast. Really do hope I'm explaining things well enough, because this is my first time trying to actually explain what I do with a complex tool like the circle tool. It's not as scary as it looks, but it is pretty complex. So anyway, we have this little design right here. That's pretty cool. I think we'll keep it. We like it. We'll keep it. So we're going to go to layout editor, tools, create object, circle or spiral. Pop open the circle and spiral tool. Let us save this. We want to save these settings as floor inlay 01. Let's change it. Decagon floor inlay 01. So this lets us know exactly what these settings are. So that's what it's called. Alright, so people were saying that looks pretty cool in Home Show, and I said that layering them makes them look even better, and I will show you in a bit. Okay, so that's that. So let's say we want to try something different. We want to try a new location, /LOC. So for people trying to do it with me, I will be putting together a picture tutorial with a screenshot of every single step, so that if watching the video isn't, if I'm moving too fast or if you're not understanding something, you can read through it at your own pace and, tab back and forth between the picture tutorial and your actual game window and do it that way. So don't freak out about that. I just received mail, apparently. Oh. Hey, cool, somebody subscribed to me on YouTube. Hi, person. Alright, we're gonna ignore me being goofy and say, oh. You know what I meant to do? I meant to actually send a social media post via Twitter saying, there we go. Decorating with Jazabelle, learning the layout editor. Okay. Back to this. And so we're going to start doing another circle. So we said, hey, we kind of like that, but we really only played a little bit with the various options at the bottom of the create circle or spiral. So we have this pulled up, and we don't want to touch Decagon 1, so let's create Decagon 2. And this time, well, we kind of like those options, but we want to change the center point. So let me do a loc again, because I was just asked to show how to do a yin-yang on YouTube. I totally forgot. Moon Panther asked me a couple weeks ago to do it, and I had a pinched nerve. I actually still do have a pinched nerve, but it's not painful anymore. I was so drugged up on Percocet. Like, the pain was incredible. I was taking 8 pills a day, and it was just bringing me down to the point where I no longer wanted to cut off my arm. That was about all it was getting to. So I have forgotten several times that I'm supposed to do a yin-yang YouTube tutorial. So let me add that to my to-do list. The yin-yang tutorial. So I will not forget that. Okay, so back to this. So most of what we wanted is filled out, but we want to change the center point to 33.3 because that's about where I'm standing. We want the height to be the same, and let's change the Y location, which is the north-south location, to 16.5. It's just about where I'm standing. Not quite perfect, but I like round, even numbers. And in fact, let me change 33.3 to 33.5 because I like 33.5 better. So we're still using plain ash tiles. So it's the same name and same item ID. We don't want them rolled 0.05. In fact, let's try rolling them 90 and see what happens. 90 will put them straight up in the air. So let's say create. And here's the new group, Decagon 2. Save. Go into the game, load working, and oh dear. My center point is, I moved after doing my center point, so now it's in a different spot. Well, that looks pretty cool. If you were using dividers, you could do a nice little room, or you could use tiles to make a nice narrow little room here. But you know what? 90 might actually be too much, because let's say we want to make a roof. So let's go back to the layout editor, select everything, create it, save group, delete group, because that's my traditional way of making sure it uses the same items I was using before. Create object, circle or spiral, and if we said 90 is too much, let's try 45. Create. Let's see what happens when we do 45. Save it so that it saves the working file. Go back to the game, click working, and oh wow, that's more like a funnel than a roof. So let's try negative 45. Negative 45 is the opposite direction. So we could just change, we could just right click it, select replace, and then change it. But since we're learning the layout editor's circle function, let's just keep using the circle function. So tools, create object, circle or spiral. 45 is not good. Let's try negative 45, create, save group, go back to the game, and let's watch what happens. Wow, that's a very spiky looking roof. I mean, if you want a spiky looking roof, that's actually really neat. And in fact, if it were me, I might take this and put some tiles upright at an angle so they're sort of diamond shaped and fill in these edges here so that it just did that all the way around. That would look really neat. But let's say that that's, a little too spiky for us. We want a flatter looking roof. So let's go back and select all, create, save group, delete group, tools, create object, circle or spiral, brings up the circle or spiral window again. Negative 45 is too much. Let's try negative 20. Create, save group, go to the game, load working. It's not a bad roof if you're going for like a tower or something like that. It's a little small, and as you can see, what was the perfect distance to keep it all together when it was flat on the ground, now there's a small hole in it because these items are angled. So you know what, let's try scaling it just a little bit. So let's go to this and we're going to cheat. We're going to say 3.1 and then we're going to say scale. It's not really cheating, but we're not going to do it through the circle tool because I think I've beat you guys over the head with it enough. So let's load working. Well, that's better, but it's still not quite there. You could avoid all of this trial and error if you use math, but I know some people prefer to just use the trial and error method. There we go, look at that. No hole. So we'll say, yeah, this is a really neat roof. Well, I guess it's a really neat roof. I suppose it could be. I prefer a more traditional roof myself, but okay. So we have it, and now we want to move it up in the air 10 units because it's going to be a tower roof. So we change our move amount to 10, we click the up button once, we say save group, and go back to the game and load it. And now it's up in the air and we can see the entirety of our roof. And then I decide that I don't really like it so much now that it's up in the air and I can see the edges. So what should I do with it? Let's try, well, if I don't want a hole in the center, then I have to kind of, oops, fell off. So, yeah, I just got accused of duct taping my cat to the floor. No, he went outside. The back door is open. He can come and go as he pleases. You know what? Hey, guys. Access level is set to visitor. So, I'm saying if anyone wants me to watch me run around in person, or so-called person, the Tenebrous Island is open to visitors in Freeport under Jazabelle. Of course, there's a time difference between the stream and real life, so visit at your own risk, discretion, whatever. Okay, so back to the circle. It's a pretty neat roof, but you know, we don't really like this one. I don't think that tiles make a very good roof, not like this. So, you know what? I seem to remember I had a whole bunch of ash railings in my moving crate. So let's move over here, and we don't like that one, so we're going to ignore it. Here's our new center. Our new center is 57.64. So let's go to my crate. Now we want to find railing of ash. Copy the item ID. Go to Tools, Create Object, Circle or Spiral. Going to replace the old item ID, and we're going to change the name here to Railing of Ash. Now, new location, -60. Let's raise it up in the air, so we're going to set Z to 5, and we want Y to be 25. Number of steps. Well, what's good for tiles is really not going to be good for railings because they're so much narrower. So it was 10 for the tiles. Let's go with 30 for the railings. Total angle is still 360 because we want it to go all the way around. Start angle is still 0. Radius 3, we'll leave it for now because I've actually never done this with railings, so I'm not sure what'll happen. And I want my item scale to be 6 because I want the railings to be really big. So let's check this out and see what happens. I'm going to leave that there. Let's say, oops. And Decagon 2 as a name is already taken, so let's change this to Roof 01. Create. Now we check the UID column because we do not want any negative numbers here. I'm going to save it because everything looks to be in order. Come back to the game. Alright, so we go back to the game, and I got distracted, sorry. I do that a lot. And now we're going to go load working. And, oh, wow, that's really very pretty, but this is not at all what we were trying to, well, actually, I really like that. The problem is it's not very deep at all. It's kind of very flat. Wow, that's really pretty. That was not really what I expected at all. Well, that's kind of not really what I wanted, so let's try this again. So let's select it and crate it. Delete group tools. Create object, circle or spiral. And let's set roll to 0 and let's set rotate to 90. Let's see what happens if we do that. So let's save it and let's load it and see what happens this time. Ooh, well, not quite. So that's the right distance apart, it looks like, but it's flat, and we don't want it flat. So we know that roll actually tilts them up onto their side. Well, let's see if we turn on the decorator mode. If you roll it, you can see it actually rolls it this way. So what we actually want to do is we want to pitch it. Let me hit escape so that that stays right where it is. So let's select all, create them, save group, delete group, tools, create object, circle or spiral. Yes, there is a lot of trial and error that goes into this, but if you do trial and error like this, you can actually make things go a lot faster. So rotate is 90. Let's try pitch of negative 20. I don't actually know which direction it's going to go when I do that, so let's do that. And oh, wow, we have a funnel here again. Very pretty, but not really what we were going for. I mean, unless you need an inverted roof of some sort. Which I don't think we want. So if we actually look from under here, that's what our roof would look like on top, which is really kind of neat, but it's not quite what we were going for. So obviously 30 of them at this distance is not enough. So let's try 40, because I have 40 of them in there. Save group, delete group, tools, create objects, circle or spiral. So let's say number of steps should be 40. Radius, we can see that there's a tiny hole, so let's do a radius of 2.9. Let's pull it in further. And 20 was nice, was a nice angle, but let's try an angle of, or negative 20 was nice, but we need the opposite way. So we can try 20, but let's try 30 instead. Create. Before I do anything else, let me make sure that there are no negative UIDs. That's correct. Okay, go to the game. I'm going to fly up so the house doesn't eat me when I do it. Load working. And well, it's better, but there are still gaps. So that means we need to move everything in towards the center a little bit more. So let's go back to the layout editor, select, create, save group, delete group, tools, create object, circle or spiral. Let's try 2.7 as our radius. Create, save group, load working. Still not quite there. Getting there, but not quite there. So select all, create them, save group, delete group, tools, create object, circle or spiral, 2.5 as our radius. Save it, load working. There we go. Well, the edges are still have little gaps, but I think that actually adds a little bit to the character. So it's like a little thatched roof right here. Kind of cute. Of course, doing it that way is very, very item intensive. So this is just one idea of items you can use. You can also use dividers to do something similar. It won't be as smooth of a look, but it will use fewer items. So just play around and see, play around with the numbers and see what happens. Just a little bit of practice will allow you to do all sorts of interesting